Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Happy Thursday. Hello to everyone that is watching in the Clinical Connections Mentoring Facebook group. Hello to everybody that is watching on Instagram. Welcome to this week's live training. So today we're going to be talking all about everything related to finding your first job, what to look for in your first job, how to select your first job, interview and resume tips, setting yourself apart, negotiating your salary. So we're going to kind of cover all of those things. This should be super helpful for those of you who have just graduated. And I know that is quite a few of you because my entire feed has been full of graduation photos and that blue past circle over the past few weeks. So huge congratulations to all of you who have graduated and or passed your MPTE. You should be so proud of yourselves. I am proud of you. Huge congratulations from me. So for those of you who do not know, I am Dr. Jody Miller. I'm a physical therapist and a mentor to PT students and new grads. Worked in just about every setting that you can think of for PTs. I've worked in skilled nursing. I've done outpatient. I've done home health. I have done pediatrics, early intervention. I've been a rehab director at a skilled nursing facility. I've done acute care, I've done oncology, I've been a lab assistant, I've been an adjunct faculty member, currently still am, and I also own my own cash-based practice here in Florida, and I am the owner of Clinical Connections Mentoring as well. So what I would like to do now, if you are watching live, please type live in the comments. Tell me who you are, where you're watching from, just kind of like to know who I'm talking to. If you are watching the replay, please type replay. Tell me who you are and where you are watching from. So you are most likely here to get some information or maybe some direction on where to go with finding your first job, right? So whether you've taken the MPTE or not, you can start applying to jobs really at any time because most states now all offer some sort of temporary license. And I know you are super eager to start working with your patients, start earning some money, earn that paycheck. You're tired of the free labor on your clinicals. And likely some of you have already had your interviews. Maybe you have had them or you have some lined up. Some of you have maybe even already gotten some job offers, but regardless of where you are in that job seeking journey, chances are can be very overwhelming, right? You probably have 1,000 questions going through your head. What do I need to do on my interview to be able to stand out? How do I stand out, make an impression during the interview? How do I get my resume to make me stand out? What types of things should I look for when I'm applying for jobs? What do I need to consider when I'm comparing different job offers? How do I know if it's the right job for me, right? I'm worried about burnout. So how do I pick a job that's not going to lead to that? And how do I negotiate a salary, right? Hi, Savannah. So I'm going to help you answer some of these questions today, and I'm going to also share some tips and some tools that you can use to stand out, make a great impression, and really help you choose the best job for you. Okay, so who's ready for that? Give me a thumbs up, give me a wave if you're ready for all of that information. So this is one of the most common questions that I get from new grads, and it's something that I like to guide a lot of new therapists with as part of my mentoring program. But today, as a little gift to you, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of what that looks like. It's one of my most favorite things to do with helping new grads because I can really help you kind of get set up and moving in a positive direction, right? Everybody's scared of that burnout. That can start with picking the right job. So it's really something I enjoy doing because I really want to help you guys get started on the right foot. I can help you weigh all your options and help kind of guide you and choose the best job for you because what works for one person is not going to work for somebody else. I'm going to really like to help new grads kind of navigate that interview phase, the negotiation phase. So today I'm going to show you a little bit of that, be a little taste of what it's like to work with me in my complete clinician program. So let's start with what to look for in a job. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you want to look at. You want to look at salary. You want to look at mentorship options. You want to look at paid time off. You want to look at benefits, the growth and career ladder. You want to look at their productivity expectations. You want to look at job requirements. You want to look at what the schedule is. And so we're going to dive deep into that a little bit today. Okay, so let's start with salary. So again, we're going to start here because this is the one thing that everybody wants. It's the one thing that everybody cares about. It's been on your mind since you started PT school. How much money am I going to make, right? Understand that salary can vary by the setting and the location. So working in a rural setting versus an urban setting, you're going to have two different salary options, right? Typically an urban setting is going to pay you a little bit more than that rural location. Same with the setting that you're in. So outpatient versus skilled nursing. And this will fluctuate as time goes on. So if there is a high demand for clinicians in skilled nursing, which tends to be true pretty often, they're going to be able to offer you a higher salary than an outpatient clinic, right? You know, there's 1,000, a million outpatient clinics everywhere. You can find them. Everybody wants to move in that work in outpatient when they get out of PT school. Not many people want to go skilled nursing. So because of that, skilled nursing tends to offer higher salaries. Okay. I will suggest that you do a quick search ahead of time and find the average for that setting that you want to be in, find the average for the area that you want to work in, kind of start there when you're thinking about salary. And there are people who have done that work. It is available for you on the internet. Just search for it and you'll be able to find kind of what the average is for the setting you want to be in and the location, kind of where you want to be, right? But I do want keep in mind that there's a lot that goes into a salary, right? Any student that has taken my class knows that it's not just I bill 4 units at $30 a unit, so I should be making $120. And if I'm not making that, then it's just going into the pockets of the CEOs. It's not really true, right? So benefits are considered, that's part of the salary. When a facility determines how much they're going to offer you in a salary, they have to take into account the utilities that they have to pay, right? They got to pay the electricity, the power, the water, right? They have to consider the hourly rate of any non-productive employee. So the front desk people, they're not bringing in any revenue, but we still have to pay them. So when they're looking at their entire revenue for the clinic, they have to consider all these things. How much did they pay for the equipment? They have to pay for the rent. So it's not as simple as I'm billing $120 per hour for every patient I see, so I should be making that much money, right? So just kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about salary. Regardless of that, you should always negotiate your salary, right? Rehab directors, clinic managers, they're instructed to offer you a lower salary than what they're actually able to pay. So always negotiate. And the wiggle room, what I mean by that is there is wiggle room, right? So let's say arbitrary, you get $70,000 and as an offer for a salary. That's the low end of where they can go. There's always wiggle room. Now that wiggle room is dependent on each facility, right? So it's not, I can't just say, oh, everybody has a wiggle room of $5,000. It depends on the facility, right? So just know that whatever you're offered at first is the lowest they're going to go. There is room to go higher. Know your worth, but also don't ask for something that's significantly higher than that, than what was offered to you. Okay. And remember, you can always negotiate other things like benefits. You can negotiate CEU money. You can negotiate time off, right? My first job, I knew I was getting married that first year. So I negotiated to have 4 weeks off by the end of my first year of working. So within that first year of work, I got 4 weeks off. I wasn't offered that initially. That's where I negotiated. I also negotiated the salary too, but I also negotiated to have an extra week off because I knew I was getting married and I wanted to go on my honeymoon, right? Vacation was important to me, right? So when you're thinking about salary, remember that there are other things that you can negotiate. You may even be able to, if you're on your spouse's benefits for healthcare and you don't need them from your employer, you may be able to negotiate a higher salary. Say, you know what, I'm not going to take your healthcare benefits. can I then have a higher salary because of that? So there's different ways that you can negotiate your salary. Okay. So the next thing that you want to consider when you're looking at jobs is mentorship. I highly recommend any new grad get mentorship, or anybody that's moving into a new facility or a new position or a new setting altogether. You don't have to be a new grad to get mentorship. So whether you're a new grad or you're going into a new job, I recommend that you get mentorship. Okay. Now there's a whole bunch of good questions that you can ask, and these you can ask on your interview or after you've been given an offer, right? So some of those questions are, is there support for you in that clinic, or are you the only clinician, right? So if you're the only PT, who's going to be there to mentor you, right? Are there other employees that are willing to mentor you or not, right? Or if there's nobody there willing to mentor you, you are on your own, right? Will you be given help when you need it? So now a lot of jobs like to offer mentorship, and I'm purposely putting that in quotes. So sometimes it's, oh yeah, we offer mentorship, so and so is going to be your mentor, but they're just as busy as you, and there never is any time to do any mentoring or to help you when you need it. So it's really a good question to ask, like, if I do need help, am I going to get it? Like, how do I get it? Will I be able to get it? Another question to ask is, how much training are you going to get at the beginning, right? Are you expected to have a full caseload by the end of the first week, or do you get like 6 months to have a full caseload? There's a big difference there, and that part of that is the mentorship. So that's a really good question to ask. Like, how much training do I get? Where am I expected to be, and by what point, right? Well, again, what does that mentoring program look like? Is it just, here's your mentor, ask her questions if you have any, or is there a structure to it, right? Understand that while I say it's very important that you have mentoring as a new grad or going into a new job, that doesn't make or break a job offer, right? You can always find mentors elsewhere. I am one of them, right? You don't have to have it at the job that you're at. There are plenty of other mentors outside of your job, right? So some mentoring programs, like those outside mentoring programs, like the one that I offer, actually cost significantly less than a residency or a more formal program that your job may offer. So that's why you want to compare the program. So compare, if there is a mentoring program at your job that you're being offered, what does that program look like, and compare it to outside ones. And you really just have to compare and figure out what's best for you. Also, some of the outside mentoring programs offer much more individual guidance than a residency program or one of those in-house mentoring programs. Okay. So super highly encourage you to find mentorship, and then ask those questions of the job offers that you get. Okay, so something else you want to consider when you're looking at all your jobs is the vacation time and the benefits, right? So some questions to ask. So how much time off do you get each year, right? Don't just look at the salary. Like, time off is a benefit to you. So that's something you need to consider and compare from different job offers. So how much time do I get off each year? When can I start using that? Some places say you get 3 weeks, but you can't start using it until you've accrued it, or you don't start accruing until you've worked here for 6 months, right? So you got to ask how much you get, and then when can you start using it, right? What holidays do I get off? And this will vary by setting, right? Most outpatient clinics, you're going to get pretty much all the major holidays off. Acute care, skilled nursing, all those inpatient settings, no. People are still sick. People still need therapy on Christmas, on New Year's, on 4th of July, right? So ask, what holidays do I actually get off with this job, okay? What are the benefits? What is the retirement plan? What are the health benefits, right? Ask all those other actual benefits. When you're asking about the retirement plan, the 401k, what is the contribution from the job? Do they match, right? All of these things are important to ask. Also ask, is there a sign-on bonus? That's a benefit, right? Some places will not offer one. Some I've seen $5,000-$10,000 sign-on bonus. Usually that will come with a bit of a contract. That means you're required to work there for so long. It's still a benefit, something to ask. And also, is there tuition reimbursement? So this, most facilities now are kind of offering some form of maybe a tuition reimbursement, but it will vary by clinic and by facility. So some will offer like X amount of dollars for a 1-year contract or a 3-year contract. Some may even say, we'll give you this amount of money to go towards your tuition reimbursement, but you got to stay here for 5 years. So keep in mind that that means that you are bound to that job, to that facility for whatever number of years that tuition reimbursement is. You may or may not be able to get out of it. And again, that's something to ask within the contract, right? Within the offer. I know a lot of people want to know about tuition reimbursement. Some places are offering it, but know that it will vary and it tends to come with a little bit of a binding agreement, okay? Also remember that benefits are part of your salary, right? So you need to take those into account. So when you're given multiple offers from different places, right, put a number to the time off that you get each year, to the healthcare benefits, to the 401k matching, right? Put a number to that and then like do the math, like compare that, add that to the salary that you are offered, and then like look at that number instead of just one or the other, okay? Something else to consider with job offers is the growth or the career ladder, right? So first here, what you need to do is know what you want for growth in your career. So that's, taking a second and thinking, do I want to go into management, or do I maybe just want to be a clinician for a long time, but I want more knowledge, right? So start there, figure out where you really want to go in your career, and then, ask the question in your interview or after you're given the offer, is there opportunity for career advancement within this department? So if you want to be into a leadership role, ask, like, what are the possibilities for me to get into a management position or leadership role? What are those opportunities? What does that look like? How do I get there? Right? Also ask, how is your growth supported within that facility or in that job, right? So how much money are you given for CEUs? Kind of talked about that. It's still a benefit, but ask, how much money do I get for CEUs? What about APTA dues? Do you pay for that? Do I get reimbursed if I do that? What about if I want to go to a conference, if I want to go to CSM, how much money do I get for that? Does that include travel? Does it include hotel, or is it just the registration for the conference? And then asking about certifications or specialties. So if you want to get your NCS or your OCS, right? Are they supportive of that? Will they give you the money to do that? Will they give you the time off to study for it? Like, ask all those things. If that is what you're interested in, ask how they will support you. Okay. This is a really big question to ask, ask these questions, but what you're trying to get the answer to is, does the facility or the job support your growth, or do they just want you to be a clinician pumping out patients, right? Or are they going to invest in you and help you grow as a clinician, right? That's really what you're looking for. Okay. Another thing to consider is productivity expectations, right? This is a super important question to ask because burnout is a source of, or productivity is a huge source of burnout, right? So really, really important to ask what the productivity expectations are at that job. It can also, the answer to this question can reveal a lot of red flags about that clinic or the facility, right? So asking, what is the productivity standard? How many patients am I expected to see every day? How many units am I expected to bill? Am I expected to bill a certain number of units with each patient, right? If they're telling you how many units to bill, that is a red flag. When are you expected to meet this standard, right? Are you expected to, if the productivity standard is 85% productivity, are you expected to meet that by the second week that you're there? Or are you given some time to ramp up to that productivity? Like maybe you get 3 months, maybe you get 6 months, whatever. Ask, what is the productivity and when am I expected to start meeting that productivity? Okay. Job requirement, another thing to consider, right? So what else are you expected to do at that clinic or that facility outside of your normal patient care expectations, right? This is another really good question that can reveal a lot of red flags for a facility. Okay, so you just want to ask, what is expected of me as a clinician at this facility? Is it just patient care, or am I expected to do other things like Do I have to work on weekends and holidays? How often do I have to do that? How many times a year do I have to do that, right? When I worked in acute care, we were expected to work one weekend a month, right? That plays into the decision of whether or not you want to take that job. Do you want to spend 1 weekend a month working, or do you want all of your weekends, right? Also, are you expected to do anything outside of clinical work? So are you expected to do presentations to other departments? Are you expected to provide in-services to your coworkers? Are you expected to go to health fairs and nonprofit activities within the facility? So, do you have to go to screenings? Maybe they do balance screenings or something. Are you expected to do that? Do you have to do anything outside of being a clinician at the job that you're being offered? Okay. Last thing that you want to think about is schedule. So what is your expected schedule? I've kind of talked about this a little bit, but what are the hours that you're offering me? Do I have to work 9 to 5? Do I have to work 12 to 7? Like, what are the hours? Do you have to work evenings? Are you okay with that? Or do you not want to work evenings? What days do you have to work? Is it a Monday through Friday? Or are you expected to work like Tuesday through Saturday, or maybe a Sunday through Thursday? Or is it 4/10s, right? What is the schedule? What are your hours? How many days are you expected to work? And where are you working? Some places have multiple locations, right? So are you expected to do all 40 hours at one place, or do they expect you to go to a different clinic on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? So when you're given an offer, a question you want to ask is, what is my schedule going to look like? Also, I want you to consider the commute, right? So are you going to be spending 2 hours in the car every day, driving an hour to work and driving an hour home? What's the traffic like? Are you okay with that? Or is that not your thing, right? So on top of schedule, also consider commute, because if you have an hour and a half drive to work and you work 8 hours, that becomes an 11-hour day, right? So don't forget about driving to work each day, okay? Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them. So now let's talk about, how do you decide? So we talked about all the things that you need to consider. Now, how do you decide which job is going to be the best for you? So what you want to do is start with the 3 most important things to you, right? So these are your priorities, right? Is salary important to you? Is vacation important to you? And is productivity important to you, right? So figure out, of all of these things, which are the 3 most important things to you, and that's where your priorities are going to be. So if you're given a job offer, does that job offer meet those top 3 important things to you? Okay. If it doesn't, you may need to look at another job offer, or maybe that's where you negotiate. Okay. So also ask yourself questions like, does this job or this facility, do their values align with my own values, right? And then also think about, if you've had the interview, how did you feel after the interview? So when you were talking to your potential boss, were you comfortable? Were they intimidating? Were they more of a boss versus a leader, right? Like, how did you feel when you left that interview? Did you feel welcome? Did you feel comfortable there? Was it really weird? Did you get a weird vibe from the other clinicians that were working there as you were there for your interview, right? So kind of think about, what are the 3 most important things for you? Do their values align with your values? And how did you feel when you left that interview, right? So that's how you can kind of, one place to start if you're given multiple job offers. Then the other thing you need to do is compare those things. So you can start with the top 3, or you can take all the things that I mentioned before, compare them, right? Pros and cons of each job. So you really want to start with the 3 things that are most important to you, and does that offer meet those things? For me, I value time off and vacation, right? So I'm going to take a job that offers me more vacation. I may take a job that offers me more vacation time, but has a lower salary than another job offer, right? So you kind of want to make a list or a chart of those things, find the one that meets your values, and kind of checks off most of those boxes for you. Okay. Now let's talk about interviews. Okay. So interview prep. right? Before you even get into the interview, you need to do your research, right? So look up anything you can about that job, about the department, the facility, the company as a whole. Ask people, look it up on the internet, find them on social media, find out everything you can about this facility or the job before you go into the interview. Write a list of questions from that research. Do you have any questions? Write those questions down and you will be asking them in the interview, okay? Ask around. Like I said, the PT world is very, very small. Everybody knows somebody in the PT world. It's crazy the number of people that I've met who know about 12 other PTs that I know. Okay. So ask these people, ask them about the facility, ask them about the department, the management, the employees. If you're given the opportunity on your interview to spend time with some of the employees, ask them questions. What is the productivity like? Is it really hard to get that? How does it, do you like your boss? What is it like working here? Right? Some places will give you the opportunity on your interview. So ask the questions, clean up your social media, right? Most employers nowadays will search your name on social media. So if you've got it public, make sure it presents you in a way that you want to be presented. Okay, and I can tell you how to make your social media, but is that how you want to be portrayed? Set your social media up that way because chances are it will be looked at. Okay. So on interview day, number one tip is to be yourself, right? Just be you, right? That's what they're looking for. Don't go in and be this, you know, don't try to be what you think they want. Be completely yourself because that's eventually who they will meet, right? So be yourself. Answer all of the questions honestly, not how you think that they want you to answer. So that's kind of what I mean by be yourself, right? Just answer the questions that they ask you, answer them honestly. Don't try to figure out what they want you to say and try to answer it that way. Just be you. You do have weaknesses, so you can guarantee you're going to be asked, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You have weaknesses, right? These are the things that you want to improve on, right? Present it that way. Well, these are my strengths. Things that I want to improve are this, this, and this, right? It really looks bad when you say, I don't have any weaknesses. You say that to an employer, you're probably going to the end of the pile there. Okay. So most employers like therapists who are looking to make improvements, who want to be better. So you can state what your strengths are. Definitely be happy about those, but then also explain the things that you know you want to work on and that you want to be better at. Okay. Also, during the interview, like I said, ask your questions. So you did your research, you wrote down your list of questions. Now is your time to ask them. And most interviewers will say, do you have any questions? Now is your time, right? But what this does is shows that you are interested in them and in that job. It shows them that you've done the research, you've looked into them, and you care about the facility versus you just want a salary and you want a job. Okay. So now let's talk about kind of setting yourself apart. So let's start with the resume. So we are kind of going backwards here, but that's okay. So in your resume, you don't need to include any information about high school. Way beyond that, maybe even undergrad, you don't really need to include a lot of stuff there, right? At this point, you're a PT, you're coming to get a job as a PT. That's really what they're looking for. So I do recommend that you list all relevant awards or recognitions that you got during PT school, okay? List your clinical experiences. These are your jobs, right? This is where your experience is. Even if this is your first job as a new grad, your clinical experiences show your experience. So list those. Within that, list any presentations or projects that you did on that clinical, right? Most likely you had to do an in-service present, explain that. I have had students in my facilities who we had them do projects. So what projects did you help that facility do? List any PT related conferences that you've attended. You went to CSM, go ahead and list it there, right? List any volunteer experiences that are relevant to PT or the job that you're applying for. So if you went on a mission trip or you worked in your pro bono clinic at your school, if you had any leadership positions while you're in PT school, right? So list kind of those things, but they should all be relevant to PT and PT school. Okay. Now, when you're going into the interview, how do you set yourself apart, right? So one, be confident. Just be you, be unique, right? Again, like I said before, don't try to be somebody else. Just be you, be confident, be unique. Everybody wants to help people. You're probably going to get asked that question. Everyone's going to say, oh, I want to help people, but why are you different? Okay. What can you bring to that clinic or that facility or that department? So if you're applying for an outpatient job and you were lucky enough to go to clinical and pelvic health and they don't have that, you have you have more experience than anybody else there at that clinic. So that is something that you can offer. Hey, I had a clinical in pelvic health. It's an area that I want to learn more about and maybe where I want to specialize. I can bring that to this clinic and get you another niche of patients, right? So that's how you set yourself apart. What is special about you? What knowledge do you have or what experience do you have that will kind of be a benefit to that clinic, right? Ask the questions. I'm going to said it before. I'm going to say it again. Ask the questions. Don't just answer their questions, okay? At the end of the interview, go home. First thing you're going to do is write a handwritten thank you note and mail it to everybody that was at that interview. Some people you may just interview with your immediate boss. Some have you interview in a group. So go home, write a handwritten thank you note for the opportunity to interview at that facility, and you send it to everybody that was there. For students, any students that are watching this, if you are about to go on a clinical, either you're just about to go, you know you have one coming up later this year, this is your interview, okay? As a rehab director, just about every person that I hired had been a student because I got to see truly how they were as a clinician. I got to see how they were with feedback. Were they open to it? I saw their motivation. Did they want to learn more? Were they just there kind of doing things, right? So that was me, but for most people that I hired, it was someone that had been there on a clinical because that's the best interview that you can have, right? I still did an interview with these people, but I took a lot of my knowledge from them as students on their clinicals, and that played into whether or not I offered them a job. Okay. So if you're on a clinical, you are being interviewed. Okay. All right. So just some kind of recap, some quick highlights. Decide what is most important to you when you are given multiple job offers. What's important to you and compare those, right? Do your research before you go on your interview. That's how you can stand out, right? Figure out how you can stand out. Answer their questions. Be you, be individual. What can you offer that facility? And treat your clinical experiences like job interviews, okay? So like I said earlier, this is a huge topic that I cover in my complete clinician mentoring program. It's something that I get asked a lot about, and I spend a ton of time here with my clients. There's a lot of noise out there. You're going to hear from 1,000 people telling you what you should and shouldn't do, where you should work, where you shouldn't work, why you should work somewhere, why you shouldn't work somewhere. They're going to give you their opinions, right? A lot of noise, right? My job is to help you figure out what is best for you because you are an individual, you are not them. That's my job. That's where I come in. We take all of this information, we'll work through it, and I guide you to find the answer that is best for you. Okay. I dive much deeper into all of this inside my program. So if you're interested in getting any more support here, please reach out, send me a DM, send me a message, email me, or drop complete in the comments right now, and I'll give you the information that you need to apply and to chat more about my program, right? The doors are open now for the next cohort that begins on July 1st. And if you apply early, there's a discount. So if you're kind of feeling a pull to learn more about what my program is, let's chat. Don't wait. Time is now, right? Send me a message. Let's get the conversation started, okay? Hope you learned something new today. Go ahead and drop in the comments your aha moment or something that really kind of stood out for you, something new that you learned today. And I want to thank you for coming, for watching, whether you're watching on Instagram or you're watching in the Facebook group, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, please feel free to message me, leave your questions in the comment section, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.